So today, for 200,000 subscribers, we're going to be reacting to your guys' content. Now, we hit 200k earlier on in the month, and one of the promises I made for this celebration was to react to your guys' content, whether it be related to me or Wixo. But there are a lot of videos out there, and we're going to be seeing what you guys have been up to. So if you guys do enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All the support is greatly appreciated. The 200,000 subscriber merchandise is now live. You can see it all at AdizzMerch.com, but also there might be some concepts up on the screen right now. So there's the signature 200k stuff that is limited edition, and then there's also the Wixo merch, which is more so permanent. But let's go ahead and jump straight into this video. So to start off, we're gonna have to figure out what exactly to search up in order to find your guys' videos. So let's just start by searching up AdizzPro. All right, and as expected, it's mostly just me, but there are some other videos here, some of which I've already seen before. All right, let's start with this one, Future of Wixo 2033 to 2200 by Tealers here on YouTube. All right, so we're starting off modern day. Looks like the Unitarians have united with Alaska. Not seeing too many large changes. So this was 6 months ago in the series, actually. Let's go ahead and say that, because this is pre-World War IV, I think. If not, then definitely pre-World War V. But it looks like we got some unifications. The rising of Russia again in Russia. That's something that actually did happen. Looks like Rome is going through some stuff. Also, lore accurate. They lost the Green Country, which did happen in real life. We see Canada fall apart. So the Unitarians collapse. That's interesting. Looks like a big Saharan nation forms. Green team goes on a huge conquest. Whoa. And that didn't work out so well. So that's pretty accurate as well. I don't know if that was before or after the coalition the Green team had against them, but actually so far so good. Japan just united. That just happened in the most recent episode. This is actually pretty accurate so far. Of course, there's like some minor scale things like Africa falling apart. Obviously that hasn't happened, but so far not so bad at all. And I know this is like an alternate future because at the time there's no way that this person would have known what was going to happen in Wixo. It looks like Africa's fully uniting in the south. Oh, huge world war here. Wow, that's a lot of countries. So looks like we got I don't even know what the sides are, but the blue team is probably gonna win. Yeah, that's a huge war. I don't think Wixo's ever had a war like that before. Africa is huge. Africa is basically a country at this point, and there it is. It is now officially a country. So yeah, most of the world is uniting. Looks like there really aren't any recognizable countries anymore other than like India, America, and Ireland. Looks like Western Europe just united together. Now pretty much all of Europe united together, and all the continents unite together. Interesting. So this is kind of like reminding me of like those usual alternate future of the world scenarios where you see like countries start to unite over time and eventually it's just one whole solid map. And that usually happens with the majority of alternate future series. So I don't know if it's going to happen with Wixo. Well, I do know what's going to happen with Wixo, but I don't know if it's necessarily that, and I don't know if I'm going to tell you if it's that or not until the finale is here. But yeah, this was definitely a really interesting scenario. Let's go ahead and check out some other stuff. All right, next up we have Fixing the Borders of Wixo by A Norwegian. So this is a pretty prominent Wixo YouTuber. They've created their own Wixo series at this point, but they've had multiple videos about Wixo, such as this one. And I gotta say, first off, this map looks like they got it from my files. This is a really good Wixo map. I haven't like officially released an actual Wixo map to the community, so I'm not too sure how they've gotten this to look so good. I'm looking for any issues with it and I don't see any. It literally looks like my map.
I'm not saying Adizz's borders drawings are bad, but if we look at the provinces, if I can find it, all I'm saying is you didn't have to give India this. It looks
okay. It's fair enough. So I do, ever since I made the province map, I've been basing all of the borders off of the already existing provinces. So at times it does create interesting things like that in India. So fun fact about that, actually, that specific province, when the whole Bangladesh coalition happened, I wanted to give India land because they participated in the coalition, but I didn't want to give them like this right here because that would just make it look even worse with them going all the way up here and having this province. So it was between these three provinces, and I ended up going with this one. I think that's probably the best decision, but yeah, I completely understand. I could have just drawn in new provinces from within and changed the border. But yeah, there definitely are some Wixo borders that are just not so great.
Anyways, over here, Ukraine annexes this brown country. I don't really see a need for it to be here. It's not going to do anything.
That's fair enough. Also, I think I see this is like me getting tested on my own knowledge, my own series. The brown country was created after Russia fell apart as a way to take land away from Russia, but like I'd agree, up until it recently went away, it didn't look great. It looked kind of out of place.
After World War IV and the peace treaty came, I was actually shocked by the fact that the Dutch still existed. So now I'm going to do the rightful thing and sink it into the ocean.
Yeah,
Western
that's what I
Europe
would
is
have did.
saved.
Yeah, the Dutch, they didn't get a lot of land taken away from them in World War IV, and that's because like it's a pretty popular nation, not as popular as like, you know, the old empire, for example. But I feel like if I made it too small, if I got rid of it completely, there'd be a lot of backlash over that. Similar to how like when I got rid of Rome, everyone wants Rome back, and I'm like, I can't really win. These are really old countries, and sometimes, you know, the older the country is, the more likely it is that they don't exist anymore. That's the case with Rome. The case with the Dutch team, they're too popular to really do away with, so I just kind of made them small and irrelevant. But yeah, taking a look at the end of the video, this is certainly a map of maps. There's a lot of stuff going on here. So South America has one big yellow country. Looks like Russia had a big unification movement. I'm not too sure what's happening down here with the Caucasus country. Or no, maybe this is the Caucasus country and they've taken over all of Russia. That's, well, you know, people have ideas. Some ideas are great. That's a great idea. I'll write it down for the next episode. Also, India is just gone. All right, next up here, we have another video from Sierra Siberia, and this one is about World War IV being completely animated. So this was a 3-episode war, I believe, plus the peace treaty, which was an extra episode. But these kind of animated Wixo videos, I don't see them too often, so it's going to be super interesting to see how exactly it plays out without having to look at all the colors. So obviously it starts in Europe. The red team tries to jump the blue team, doesn't work too well. Then all the fascist countries get involved, and that makes things kind of difficult. The Dutch Republic was kind of like the main driving force to keep the blue team in the war, because without them, it would kind of fall apart. So they did kind of have to exist in Europe. Most likely, they would have been jumped by the communists completely, but I couldn't have that happen too soon because the rest of the war needed to play out. But as you can see now, we have the Lime Team Rebellion in India. We have South Africa joining to fight back against fascism in the continent. Looks like we just had Mesopotamia join the war, which means that soon enough they should be doing that, forming the old empire again. So that's a pretty big plot point in the war. I don't think this is going to have the coalition of the willing, because that was episode 70. So this is going to be just World War IV. So now we have all the other countries in South America getting jumped. Now the HRE is getting liberated, and soon enough the Dutch Empire should fall. Let's see here. Oh, okay. So first we go with Gold Team. That's true. So the old empire jumps them, they go away, and then the Dutch Empire gets jumped as well, and there we go. So that was the communist/democratic victory in World War IV, but shortly after this, of course, we all know what happened. All right, and now we have AdizzPro's What If Civilization Started Over fully animated compilation. This is by Zimov, and this is the full series animated all the way up until episode something. This was made 7 months ago, so I'm not too sure. I have seen this before, and it's a great animation. I'm going to speed it up because it is like 24 minutes long, but this is, you know, it's mostly fan made, of course, because there's some smaller details like countries taking over land in certain orders, whereas, you know, I just kind of take a paintbrush and go woo across the screen. This is way more detailed and way more interesting. So this is the earlier on part of the series. We still have the original Mesopotamian countries. There goes the Lime Team forming. Here comes the earlier part of the African Union, or the earliest part. There's the yellow team that people love for some reason. There's the Dutch team, Dutch something, not an empire yet, not a republic yet. So this period was kind of small, kind of minuscule, not a whole lot of expanding, more so just filling in Europe and the parts of Mesopotamia. But then we get Korea all the way over there, and this is the part where the world starts to kind of slowly but surely branch out into the rest of the unexplored continents. I think the pink team was the early version of the Mongol Empire. Yep, there it is, now reaching all the way over, and then it very quickly fragmented it into a ton of different pieces. That is the Seafoam Green country, I believe, in its earliest stage. That's super interesting to see because I haven't watched a lot of these episodes in a very long time. So kind of getting the refresher of what actually happened and all the events that went down is interesting. It's also really interesting to see it in animated format because it's kind of like a quick and concise recap. But now we have Africa getting colonized, all of Northern Europe getting filled in, China's just formed, the red team is having a little bit of issues within. There we have Vietnam/South China forming. There we have the Farmers Republic, or the Farmers Union forming. The yellow team's still there above it. Europe at this point was very interesting looking. It looks completely unrecognizable to how it looks today, other than like Western Europe in some instances. There we have Norway and Sweden forming. Finland is forming fully. They really haven't had many border changes at all in their history. So this is like right before colonization happened. And here in a few seconds, I think the whole Western Hemisphere is about to blow up with color. But first we got to get through the red team's issues, more so of them fixing issues. They're going on their conquest right now, I think. And here we go. So now we have all of Hispaniola filled in, all of the Southeast USA filled in. Still some things happening. The lime team's doing a lot of colonization above my head up there. The red team starts to expand again, filling in more and more areas of Mesopotamia. So I think this is episode 17 of the series, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, they're going all the way across Africa, and then they get jumped by everybody around them, like the lime team, the green team. I think Ukraine gets in on it, and the blue team at the end gets in on it. But now we have colonization kicking in. All the Americas are being colonized, mostly by the Dutch Empire at this point. World War I think is about to happen. We have Russia and Ukraine about to fight each other. Now South America is getting colonized. The African Union has their colony there, and so does the Dark Cyan team. But here we have World War I, so the gold team and Russia are going to war with each other. And if I remember correctly, Russia comes back and they win the war. Now we have the formation of the old empire. That's super interesting to see mapped out, but they're going to quickly take over all the territories around them. The rise of the old empire was actually super quick. It happened really fast, and they were always like super strong. So I think World War III is about to happen. The African Union is fighting itself. There comes Libya. And this should be World War IV right here. Yep. So Russia starts invading into the old empire and the Farmers Republic. Then we see America fighting Texas and Mexico all the way over there in the Americas. The green team gets involved. Old Empire has a lot of progress, but Russia is a little bit overwhelming over in Europe. The green team is really an issue. And slowly but surely here, we should start to see the fall of the Old Empire on the Eastern Front, which was really like the nail in the coffin for them. After they got pushed all the way back to Persia, things really started going bad. And then Russia having all this success in the Balkans, taking out the Farmers Republic. That was a big part of it as well. So here's the final little resurgence of the Old Empire, and this is where it comes crumbling down. So Russia starts to make advances into the Caucasus. The green team takes over that major city in Persia. Now we have the rebellions across the Old Empire, and from there it just kind of shattered apart. As soon as they lost all of the lands outside of Mesopotamia, it was pretty much over. And there it is, it's gone. So that's actually the end of this video. It stops right after World War III, so that's like episode 50-ish. I'm actually interested to see if like a part 2 of this video comes out, and maybe even eventually like a full-on animated thing. Because I feel like now that the map is fully filled in, and you don't have to worry about like countries colonizing unlost lands, that like you can more so focus on the individual wars that are happening and stuff. And episode 50 and up are full of wars, especially like World War IV and World War V. So yeah, this was a super good animation, very detailed, very good. Now we have ourselves a newer animation here, this time by Staking, and it's the Roman Civil War, and it's completely animated. So this happened pretty recently. Let's go ahead and take a look. So we have the rebellions breaking away. Oh wow, this is super detailed. This is a really good animation. Like this reminds me of like traditional mapping. That was really good. That's probably one of the best Wixo animations I've ever seen. Like that was really good quality animation, and all of that fit into a 15-second short on YouTube. Just think about all of the time and effort that goes into these like short videos like this one. I'm sure this took a very long time to make, but that was super good, very good. Now we have a video here by Louisiade. I hope I said that right, but it's World War I in Wixo with army sizes. So I believe this is another animation, and I apologize to the last guy, but this is going to be a very good animation as well. I said that the last one was very unique, very elite, but he has company with this guy. So of course these are like fan-made army sizes. You actually can't see the front because of me. I'm gonna try to move me. I'm gonna take a quick little visit to the other side of the screen, but now we see World War I completely mapped out. So of course there's the Mesopotamia jumping that happened. And then the main thing, of course, was Russia versus Ukraine. There's Rome getting involved. Now I'm kind of in the way again. The Ukrainians, they have a clear numbers advantage against the Russians until they don't later on in the war. Right about here is where it's stalemated, and they should start fighting back at this point now. Oh yeah, also Western Europe getting involved. That was something that was pretty important to that. So all of Italy's gone, and now the Europeans start entering into the most eastern parts of Europe, specifically in Poland. And here comes the resurgence of the Mesopotamians. And here comes the jumping of Ukrainian forces by everyone that is, well, not Ukrainian. I guess now looking back on this, like Russia's resurgence was a little bit unrealistic. Like the fact that Ukraine didn't finish them off. But having Western Europe come in, I think that was probably the biggest plot point of that war. So yep, it all comes crumbling down for the Ukrainians. But yeah, that was another great animation video, another great Wixo video. So now we're gonna come watch another one, this time by Altson Mapping. It's the Great Mesopotamian Conquest of episode 17. So I didn't know this until, I don't want to say recently, but a few months ago, but episode 17 of the series is like one of the most popular episodes in Wixo because of the conquest that the red team had and how they were kind of like this Napoleonic France thing for one whole episode. And obviously they got folded in the end. But yeah, let's see this. So this is another pretty good animation. The red team starts taking out all of the people around them, and then they start going all the way across Africa. and I don't remember exactly what like the point was or what specific country they invaded that like made them cross the line. I think it was Ukraine, or no, it was the African Union. I might be wrong though, but they start throwing hands with everyone around them, and it doesn't end so well, so they get folded. So another great animation here by the Wixo community. Here's a super recent animation by Sword to Die Mapper. This is the Libyan Civil War, so this is actually still ongoing as of me recording this. So it's not going to be super up to date because the episode just released yesterday, but it's still going to be interesting to see, especially with like the casualty numbers as well as the frontline numbers. So Libya's main forces, if this is accurate, they should probably bounce around a little bit. Like I'm assuming this is like their main invasion force as depicted here. So these guys will eventually come over here to deal with this, and then down here, and then they will end up back up here. So the terrorists start taking over Tunnelland, the yellow team becomes very victorious, and the red team slowly but surely begins to fall back. And actually it looks like this might be fan-made in a certain sense of the end of the war, so that's totally fine, obviously. Like I said, the episode did just drop yesterday, so there would have been no way for this person to know what happened. But they were overall right. The Libyan government fell. The yellow team is going to be next to fall, and I'm sure they would have also depicted that here as well. Something that I did notice is there's no proxies in the Mediterranean country. That's pretty important for the Libyan Civil War. But overall, that's a fantastic animation and a great depiction of the Libyan Civil War. All right, next up we have the WDO versus the Axis from our Alternate Future Season 1 series. This is the complete animation of the war. So if you haven't seen Alternate Future Season 1 and Alternate Future Season 2 of my mapping series, I highly recommend, I plead with you to go watch them before we finish up Wixo, because it's kind of important. But we're gonna go back a little bit. We're gonna take a look at this specific war. I haven't actually seen this one before. I've seen a few of the other ones, not all of them, but this is gonna be super interesting because I haven't visited my Alternate Future series in a while. So of course the WDO was the World Defense Organization, the Axis was the bad guy, the evil organization. This is like the prequel of Wixo, by the way, so if you didn't know that, then once again go watch the Alternate Future series. But yeah, this war, I remember it being super fun to make, super fun to like build up to, because it was like the war of the series. But this wasn't like Wixo or anything. This is like the modern map. This was Alternate Future, so it stems from our world, of course. But there we have China. They switch sides over to the red team, and from there it gets pretty dicey. A bunch of other countries flip sides. So yeah, there goes Egypt, and then there should be India as well, and eventually Indonesia. Yeah, it just goes bad. There's Indonesia. Australia goes bye-bye, and the red team ends up winning this war against the WDO. Which was a pretty big moment in the series, but it gets a lot worse from here. So once again, if you haven't seen Alternate Future Season 1, highly recommend you go watch that. And also Alternate Future Season 2. That one's arguably more important to the series of Wixo than Alternate Future Season 1, but watch them both, because yes. So here we have yet another Wixo animation. This time though, it's focused on the old empire theater between Russia and them, and of course China's there as well, but as we all know, not a lot happened on the China front. This one is by Kavila OE, so let's take a look. Of course it starts with the nuclear bombing, and then even more nuclear bombings, and then the actual war starts. So we can actually see the sides better here, the red team versus the blue team, and then of course the green team as well. It's kind of funny to think that the green team is called the circular powers, the cross axis, and then there's the square powers as well. Like I never gave these alliances official names other than like in some very specific scenarios like NATO and North America. But having shapes define the alliances, I think I probably could have did better there. But yeah, so far extremely accurate as all these animations have been. And this war was a lot of back and forth between the old empire and Russia. Of course, the old empire, as you're seeing now, they did have that movement over in the Caspian region that was pretty big, but like it wasn't a good war for them. They were at a pretty bad spot, especially after they kind of crumbled from the inside as well. This was the old empire pretty much at like their territorial peak in the war. They had a ton of land from Russia and their allies, and then there was the offensive that happened over in Greece like that. I do believe that they pushed back a little bit from there, but for the most part it's downhill from here for them. There we go, we have Rome joining the war. They create a little bit of a distraction for the old empire, but a very short-lived distraction. Rome was kind of like a secret dark horse MVB candidate in this war because they were definitely carrying their own weight for the most part. Of course, they freed the Farmers Union. Even after that, they kind of got pushed back, but they lasted, so I'll give them that. There's the nuclear bombing of the old empire's troops in the Russian front, and from there they start blowing each other up a little bit, but the old empire is going to fall. Oh, actually, I'm interested to see the brown team get involved. I don't think I paid attention to that in the other animated video. So there's China leaving the war, and then here comes the fall of the old empire. So Libya and the gold team just got involved. There's the Norwegian offensive over in Russia, but that's not going to do much for them. So yeah, very quickly the old empire fell. Looking back on it, I probably wouldn't have had them fall as quickly as they did, but having all of the nations that they had annexed kind of pop up and break away especially like the non-Mesopotamian ones. I feel like that was super important. It was probably also a huge driving force in the reason why they fell apart as they did. But here we go, Russia breaks in and the government collapses. And then here we have the Brown team / the Dutch Empire getting involved. They take over all of the land that they nuked. And there goes the old empire, and shortly after, in the next episode, Russia falls as well. So there we go, that's it. Another really good animation. Alright, now we got ranking AdizzPro funny moments. I'm surprised these videos exist, but let's see what they got.
Its independence.
Oh, this was Doodle Empires.
And obviously this country will be named Zimbabwe. Now, Red Australia will make an attempt to invade the Papa Grey country, but they will be repelled by their forces.
This is
fail in that invasion. So
very important to the plot, by the way.
In Asia, you have China, who's like big.
You know, in the video the other day, last Saturday, Wixo number 88, I said that again. And I didn't think that I would ever have to face myself saying something as atrocious that ever again. 2 times was enough, but I get to revisit it here today in this video.
Asia, you have China. Is it even worth trying to pronounce that? Zonguldak. Zonguldik? No, not that one.
You guys are freaking crazy. What is wrong with you? Everyone looks at them like, bro, what? Who are you? And they feel very embarrassed. And then they choose to sink into the ocean. So that was an older Wixo video, and the thing that I noticed about like looking at clips of me in the older Wixo videos, so I wasn't very like enthusiastic. I think that's something that I've done a pretty good job at like fixing up in the more recent videos. All right, here we have a short by Green France Mapping. This is Sambucha, but it's edited to Wixo.
Do they deserve the hate? Honestly, no. They're way too
bad
overhated,
things.
which is ironic because they're actually really good. I don't know why it ever became cool to hate on them. Yes, deserves the hate.
I don't get it. So like the community is extremely split over Rome. I've seen people that are loving Rome, people that have dropped the series because Rome is gone, and then on the other side of things, there's people that just hate Rome. People that were celebrating, dancing in the streets that Rome was gone. Let me know in the comments of this video, are you a Rome supporter or are you a Rome hater? And if you are a Rome hater, what's your favorite country then? All right, so this is going to be the last thing that we look at here, but it's the USSR versus the old empire. So like the real life USSR versus the fictional old empire by Yan Paleo Historian. They're a pretty prominent Wixo YouTuber, so I would definitely check them out. They have some pretty good videos up. But yeah, nukes, obviously the USSR. So in Wixo, the whole nuclear thing, they didn't have as many nukes as we did in real life. And I kind of feel like that maybe they should have, but I didn't do that. So if I could do it again, maybe they would have more nukes. But if they had more nukes, then the world would have ended. So at the same time, you have to consider that as well. Puppet states, obviously USSR had more. They had a better air force. I don't know what PIB is. Navy, old empire, that's probably true. Landmass, obviously USSR. Military, USSR over the old empire. I don't know what episode on old empire it is, but I feel like that the old empire's military would probably be stronger than the USSR's. Now, not obviously as much manpower per se, but at least when I look back at it and think about it, I think that the old empire might have been like stronger than the USSR in terms of like military capability. Not manpower though. Personnel, okay, well, throw it all out the window. That's probably backwards. I'd probably switch them. Allies, old empire, probably technology. I think the old empire was probably better with technology as well. Resources, old empire, older, yeah, that's true. Free point, USSR. Population, old empire. Winner, old empire. Yeah, I'd say so, probably. If a war, like if it was just a 1v1 war between the two, I think the old empire would win. That's a hypothetical though, because we're talking about a completely fictional country here, so can't really scale them. But yeah, that's definitely an interesting insight. Anyway though, like I said, that is going to do it for today's video. So I hope you guys did enjoy. I hope I was able to feature as many different creators as possible. Obviously there's tons and tons of videos out there, so I didn't get to every single one. A lot of the content around Wixo and the channel is like short-term edits and stuff like that, and I didn't want to make a video looking at just like YouTube short edits, brain rot stuff the whole time. But yeah, most of it is Wixo, as you've noticed to this point. But like I've said before, I think it's because Wixo is like such a unique thing, and it's brought in a lot of like the modern community and of course the original community, like the I don't want to say original community, but like pre-Wixo community is still here. Sometimes I do kind of find myself trying to balance like, you know, the Wixo community and just the overall community, because the Wixo community is, well, its own community to a point, but they've made like the most content. So there's a lot of videos there pertaining to the series, and that's why a majority of it is Wixo. Anyway though, once again, that is going to do it for today's video. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Make sure to check out all of the creators that I mentioned in this video. They have a lot of other videos as well. Also make sure to check out the limited edition 200,000 subscriber celebration merchandise. Like I've said before, the actual 200k stuff is limited time. So if you're gonna get something, I highly recommend you get that, because the Wixo stuff is more permanent. It will be here into next year, so don't worry about that going away. If you want to get something, I highly recommend getting the limited edition stuff, because it's not going to be here forever. Once again though, thank you all so much for watching this video. Thank you to the entire community for making videos about our channel, and I'll see you all in the next video. And of course, thank you to all our super fans. This includes Andrew O2, Turno Apex, Omega the YouTuber, Terminator, Aiden Shank, Icy Static
See What I Do,
CTG on YT,
AdizzPro,
Euroball,
Bren,
Jazzy
Green
Gerboa,
France Mapping,
Nevada Garbage Trucks,
Vista,
Knighthood 7353,
GNR95,
Ozgeo,
Big,
A
Goose,
Norwegian,
RS,
and Golden Ball Mapping,
Zaylance,
Laser Taze,
Augusto,
Pablo Sigma Cat,
and
Hammer Toad 45. Once again, thank you guys.